Troy, you was talking about today that you sent me an article. It's an
Yeah,
article that was interesting that everybody knows how I feel about these chip stocks.
semiconductors. Yep.
Yes, and been very vocal about a lot of them. And but you were saying that a lot of these tech companies, you sent the article, a lot of these tech companies are starting to explore doing it themselves, or at least a portion
Mm-hmm.
of it themselves.
Yeah.
So that's interesting because in my brain, that would hurt the industry that's been doing extremely well.
Right.
SMH been on fire. The Taiwan Semiconductor, AMD, all of these have done extremely well for the last 5-10 years. So what's the deal with that?
Yeah. So obviously, and even in November, I think on Market Mondays we talked about, and it's happened already with Apple making their own M1 chip. They put it in the new iPad. They put it in the new MacBook. So they've made their own chip. Tesla announced that they're going to be making their own chip, the Dojo chip. Baidu, which is the Chinese version of Google, has made their own chip. We just put up a post last week about Google creating their own chip, and Amazon working on something. And so it's interesting, right? And I thought the same thing as you. I'm like, wait, if they start making their own chips, some of these companies are going to get pulled back. But what they're going to do, they're making their chips, but the key is who's manufacturing the chip, right? Because to invest in that is going to be the key, right? Because to create a factory that has manufacturing is like I think like $15 billion operation.
Yeah, like 10 billion.
Yeah, and it takes like 7 years to do it. So they don't have that type of time, right? Right. So because business moves every day. And so the manufacturing piece is going to be key. And so who's the number one manufacturer of the chips? TSM, right? Or Intel, right? Right now, I give the nod to TSM in that category. So that's a company, obviously, with the chip shortage that we've said this so many times. I love TSM. I love TSM. When companies need to have manufacturing, which is going to be on a high demand since there is a shortage, I want to find the person that's manufacturing it. So, I dug a little deeper into the research, right? And so we keep hearing chip shortage, keep hearing chip shortage. What is the problem? And so I think Wall Street Journal, it might have been Wall Street Journal. I'll put the article in the chat. They wrote a very good article explaining what happened. And so there's a piece inside of these chips called the substrate, right? So the what? It's called a substrate, right? SUBSTRATE. So when I'm like, yo, do your research, like I really was reading this all weekend. I'm like, damn, I get it. And so the substrate is pretty much what connects the chips to communicate with each other. And so they've been having a problem producing those. And so this is interesting because substrates are something that people don't really invest in. Even if you look now, that the people that are producing, even in the article, it's like 3 companies, but they're all in Southeast Asia. Not heavily invested in because there's not a lot of money until now, right? Before it was like, we can get these chips, it's cool, we put it in all our devices, it's nothing. Now there's a shortage, so now the substrate demand is about to go up. And so now even me, I'm looking at it like.
So who makes the substrates?
So there's like 3 companies that they list in the article. I think one of them is Samsung Materials. It's not actually Samsung, the company. It's like Samsung Materials. I'll post the article so we can see it. But these are the type of things that I'm looking into now. It's like, all right. So substrates is what helps the chips communicate. That's the piece that's keeping this as a shortage. There's a low supply in it right now. Who's going to be making that? And so like that, like we talked about it with Trap last week. Like when somebody's digging for gold, we got to find the shovels. I'm looking into those type of things. And so now they might be the piece that becomes in demand. But again, who's going to manufacture? And so if we look at it from that standpoint, I still like companies like Taiwan Semiconductor because they already have the infrastructure to manufacture. Ian, your thoughts?
We shouldn't even do a follow-up. You killed that. 39 off the bench and 12 possessions. You killed that. I agree 1,000%. That's all the earners going crazy. Troy teaching. Yep. I have nothing to add. Might cut all my parts out.
Yeah. No, I was like, seriously. So like, when we talk about research and I'll try to put it in YouTube, man. These are the things that we should be really researching, right? Like we keep hearing chip shortage and we love SMH. SMH has done a lot for us. Praise. We're going to thank God for SMH. But if we keep hearing shortage, right, then this could hurt our industry, hit the industry, right? Or hurt our ETF. And we don't need that. So let's find other ways that we can invest in and make a bad situation or a dim situation, right? Because now it started out by saying it would last half of 22. Now there's talk that it might last till 2025.
What, the chip shortage?
The chip shortage, right? Because the automakers are like, listen, we can't produce the cars.
Automakers are hurting.
They're getting killed. If you look at who reported last week, was it Ford? One of the automakers reported, and it was just like they took a hit because they don't have they can't get the chips in the cars fast enough to sell them. And so knowing those things, we just got to dive a little bit deeper into the research and say, all right, well, this is something that we could look into. I'm gonna post the article so everybody can have it as well. Shout out to Wall Street Journal. It was a great article.
Also, in every shortage or in every crisis, there's an immense opportunity. And the true goal of every company is to have a monopoly. So AMD, TSM will still be fine. Keep your eye on Apple and Google and see what they come up with. Also Amazon with web services. That's why I always tell you guys, you got to invest in companies that have a bunch of cash in case if a crisis comes about. And these are like I put it in Stock Club yesterday. Notice 2020 health crisis, 1920 Spanish flu health crisis, 1820 what health crisis came about? Put it in chat. 1720. These are changing of the guard. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Do your research, study. Every time these economic resets happen, they lead to a new wave of companies that normally die off, and then some will blossom and do well over the next 40 or 50 years. So be prepared. Go. That's why I say go do your research and go. When I'll be telling y'all, Culture Hacks for everybody listening by Richard Conrad. Go read this book. When I tell you guys to go study, and when Troy said he studies, he's every time I call him, I'm like, bro, what you reading and looking at? Once you study what happens over 100-year business cycle, you can almost time. Oil came in, it was a dominant force and dominant resource after something else left. These things happen. If you go look at those business cycles and tie it all together, you'll have your blueprint. All the answers are there. I promise you.
That's a book
Culture
tip.
Hacks.
That's a book tip, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you another one in the earnings report.
YouTube, please hit the like button. 4,100 people on YouTube. Hit the like button. Don't forget. Okay. So the most highs for the S&P 500 over the last 100 years. This is interesting. The most was 1995. It was 77 new highs that was hit that year. The next was 2017 with 62. The next was 1964 with 62. The next was 1928 with 59. And the fifth is 2021 with 54, but we still have 3 months left. So what that means is that we have hit record highs in the S&P 500 54 times this year, and there is still 3 months left. So it's already at number 5. This is already the number 5th year ever for most highs hit. What do we make of that?
This is the first time I read some information that scared me. If it matches or surpasses 1929, it comes back to what I say maybe in 23 we'll have a slight drop, but 27 would be pretty harsh. And if you look at what happened post 1964 and post 1995, 95 kind of ushered in that tech wave, and then it was great until it wasn't, and the crashes were immense. So
my graduates from my school being Forbes, bag drop.
Bag drop.
A mic drop, bag drop.
Bag drop.